He was weak, subjected to daily bullying, contemptuous looks, beatings, and mockery from everyone around him. But instead of giving up, he entered a deadly isolation and began a 20,000-year training journey through pain and hell. Today, he has returned with a superhuman body, strength that shakes mountains, and a single goal that crushes all who have underestimated him. This is Wu Ling'an, an overweight guy who can't say no, and that's why he's always getting bullied at school. Tired of all this nonsense, he decided to focus on his studies to try to change his life in the future. His biggest dream was that when he grew up, people would judge him based on his abilities and not just his appearance. But it didn't take long for him to realize that besides being an overweight guy, he was also a failing student with terrible grades. After graduating, the only job he managed to get was as a human punching bag at a gym. The ad was looking for someone who weighed over 90 kilograms and didn't need a degree. In the end, he found himself in the same circle, but now the people hitting him were professional fighters. He cried bitterly and wondered why everyone treated him badly. Suddenly, while he was muttering, a large, strong hand grabbed him by the shoulder. It was his supervisor, Mai Renning, asking him for a little help with the gym's monthly report. Wu tried to argue that he was just a training partner, but he already knew he wouldn't be able to refuse the task. Seeing his hesitation, the supervisor became annoyed, flexed his muscles, and asked very threateningly what he had just said. Looking scared, the overweight boy immediately agreed to do the report and was told by his boss to hurry up. Just when he thought the nightmare was over, the supervisor called his name, and Wu looked back, already exhausted. At that moment, all the muscular guys from the gym appeared, asking him to do their reports too. With a dark look in his eyes, it seemed like the hero was finally going to lose his temper and tell everyone to back off. But he just smiled and agreed to do all the work, proving that he really didn't know how to say no. Now it's midnight, and the street is completely dark, with only the light from a lonely street lamp. While Wu works on his computer, he cries and wonders why he didn't refuse, as he wouldn't earn an extra penny from it. Suddenly, he feels a sharp pain in his chest, as if his heart is about to explode at any moment. He remembers the doctor's warning that if he didn't lose weight, he would one day collapse unexpectedly. Feeling his time is up, the overweight boy tries to articulate a request for an ambulance. But, to make matters worse, a message appears stating that his service has been suspended due to non-payment. Hopeless, he realizes that he will really go through that moment alone in that dark room. However, in a last-ditch effort, he decides he needs a change, and he won't leave as an ordinary Wu. So, he clicks to delete the folder of his secret study materials from his computer. Content with his final act of dignity, he smiles and rests his head on the desk, feeling that he can finally leave in peace. His last thought is his wish that in his next life, he wouldn't be Wu anymore. But instead of deleting it, he accidentally clicks send to everyone, and a new message appears on the screen. Elsewhere, his supervisor is surprised that Xiao Wu's report has been finished quickly. Curiously, he opens the folder he received to see what the boy sent. Suddenly, a very inappropriate video starts playing in the middle of the meeting, sending everyone into a panic. The hero's eyes widen in pure shock at the blunder he just committed. Without explanation, he now sees himself as a child and wonders if he has really started his life over again. After 20,000 years, the story takes us to Kyushu, in a place called Dimju. A beautiful fox girl wraps her arms around a young man from behind, calling him affectionately Brother Ling'an. Her name is Tushan Siu, and she asks why he is still on the mountain when they promised to explore the world. The man, who has trained for 20,000 years, lifts the entire mountain with just one arm. Introducing himself as Wu Ling'an, an ordinary human with a simple extra strength, he says he will cause trouble. The girl is shocked and exclaims how an ordinary person could lift an entire mountain. He assures her that he has indeed been reincarnated, and that he spent the last 20,000 years training on that mountain. He then explains that he came to the world as a bankrupt young master of a demonic sect, and to avoid being hunted, he hid in the mountains and told the girl that his training was finally over. The young man thanks the little fox girl for her company, saying that without her, he would have gone insane from boredom. Thanks to the lessons from his previous life, he became extremely disciplined and trained every day for 20,000 years. But after training for so long, he realized something very important about himself. Suddenly, a giant serpent appears before them, staring at them with red, hungry eyes. He realized he was Wu Ling'an. In other words, a person with no spiritual roots for training. The serpent then lunges to attack them, stating that, besides his well-trained body, he has nothing else. However, he does not feel afraid and prepares to face the creature with just his hands. With one strike, he smashes the beast in the face, launching it into the air with amazing force. The impact is so strong that the serpent's body crashes into a solid rock wall upon collision. Wu Ling and himself is astonished by the result, as it shows he has no idea of his own strength. Smiling, he suggests to the girl that they should have snake meat for dinner tonight. The girl eagerly agrees, and they head off together to enjoy the unexpected meal. Xiao thinks that as expected, Brother Ling managed to take down the flood dragon with one hit. While he prepares the meat, she hears an angry voice calling the brave young man a thief. A man floating on a sword accuses the duo of stealing the dragon he was about to defeat. He introduces himself as Xiao Qinghe and accuses them of being from the demonic sect because of this disgraceful act. The hero just looks at the man with a bored expression, completely uninterested in his accusations. In a panic, the young man denies everything and wonders how the guy discovered the truth about them. Right after, he throws himself on the ground and apologizes, saying he didn't mean to take the creature. Xiao stares at them disdainfully and identifies their true nature as a fox demon and a powerless human. Realizing that talking is pointless, the man decides it's time to stop wasting time on them. Without hesitation, he advances towards them with his sword, using a powerful technique to finish them off in one go. Xiao is astonished, as the hero simply catches the flying sword with his bare hands. The man falls to the ground in complete shock, pointing at the young man, unable to believe what just happened. With narrowed eyes, he cannot understand how an ordinary boy managed to catch his flying sword. Wu Ling apologizes for taking his weapon but says he had no choice because the man was about to eliminate him. Angry at his rudeness, the master summons dozens of swords to fly and sends them towards them. The young man simply faces the downpour of blades and prepares for an incoming attack. Using incredible speed, he moves through the battlefield and catches all the swords in the air. Then he appears, holding the weapons, and says he caught them by instinct. While Zhao looks at him with admiration, Zhao Qing is frozen in shock, staring at the young man with pure disbelief. When he sees that he has no chance, he turns and desperately runs into the forest. A moment later, he returns with an embarrassed smile, saying it was just a big misunderstanding. The young man politely asks him to return his swords and promises to leave as soon as he gets them. However, as the young man prepares to throw the weapons back, Zhao Qinghe gets ready for a cowardly attack from behind. With an evil smile on his face, he fires a powerful fireball towards the hero. The attack tears through the forest, destroying everything in its path with impressive force. Wu Ling agrees to return the weapons and throws them back at the master as promised. With his body completely burned, the man cannot believe that his attack had no effect on him. The fireball simply dissipated around the young man's body without leaving a scratch. Unfazed, Wu Ling calls out to the girl, saying they need to go back to cooking. Before they leave, the fox girl approaches Xiao Qinghe and asks him to come talk seriously. With a fierce look, she threatens him, saying she does not want to hear any word about what happened there. Terrified, the man agrees with the girl, shaking with fear, sweat dripping down his face. Wu calls to Xiao to hurry up and catch up with him, smiling as hearts float in the air. Xiao Qinghe watches the duo walk away, with the young man carrying the giant serpent's body with one hand. Kneeling on the ground, he wonders who these mysterious people are and where they came from. Then, with an evil smile, he thinks they might be happy now, but it won't last long. He promises to tell the old ancestor of the academy everything, ensuring that these practitioners will pay for what they did. Meanwhile, the girl comments that he defeated fighters yet still insists he is an ordinary person. The young man replies that he won't be a match for a real fighter and that the man was playing with them. He claims to be an ordinary person with no spiritual roots who needs to train his body more. As he walks, he wraps the snake's tail around his body as if it were just another workout. Xiao thinks that although he is very naive, he is also very sweet in his thoughtless behavior. The scene shifts to a mountainous view, showing the path taken by the duo. They arrive at a dark cave, and Wu Ling announces that he will enter loaded with food. At the cave's entrance, there is already a sign warning of demonic presence and the 10 unforgivable crimes. Inside the cave, a strong man shouts, asking who dares to enter their land. With an innocent smile, the hero responds that he came with snake meat for their dinner. The man's expression changes completely, and he says that little Lincoln has finally come to visit them. Behind bars, everyone becomes excited and asks him to pass the meat, because they are hungry. The young man explains that they might not seem friendly, but they are his uncles who care for him a lot. Suddenly, one of the men, apparently the leader, ignites and begins to complain about something important. He is Wu's father, Dr. Lincoln, and reproaches his son for not visiting him in the past 3 hours. The young man explains that he was delayed due to hunting and cooking, and comments that his father likes to roll around. The man asks if the girl convinced him to come down from the mountain again, and the son denies it. Angrily, the father shouts that he cannot leave the mountain at all because it is too dangerous up there. Wu Ling and Xiao are shocked by the exaggerated reaction of the father as he continues to yell at them. The man claims that even after being sealed for 20,000 years, he still remembers the cunning of people from the righteous path. He continues his lecture and asks if his son wants an old man like him to bury his child. The young man lowers his head and apologizes to his father, but it seems he has more to say. Angrily, he shouts that he's tired of hearing the same things for 20,000 years. The father is stunned by his son's courage and stares at him in silence, not quite understanding what he is saying. The young man states that he no longer wants to be trapped in that forest, even if he gets hunted or injured, or worse. The other men say he is being naive and that leaving now would be a final mistake since he is still too weak. The girl interrupts the discussion and reveals that they just faced a fighter from the righteous path. She says that the man was in the nascent soul stage, but Ling defeated him with a single blow. The father wonders how a righteous fighter appeared there, and if his son has truly become strong to that degree. However, the young man reminds him that he is still an ordinary person without spiritual roots. He wonders how he will face stronger fighters even if he has one of their strengths. The man insists that he shouldn't think he's invincible just because he defeated 1 or 2 fighters. The hero shouts that he is not interested in being invincible, and that he has much greater goals. He explains that only by reaching the stage of strength can he break the barrier and save them all. Angrily, the father asks the other men if they were the ones who told his son this, and they all deny it at once. The young man remembers how his father always protected him, even while he was imprisoned for 20,000 years. With determination, he says that now that he has grown up, it is his turn to protect his father and the entire family. The girl intervenes in the conversation and says they seem to have forgotten something very important. She explains that since Ling doesn't have a demonic aura, people won't be able to detect his true identity. The father still feels anxious and says that if he releases any demonic aura while trying to break through, it will be over for him. The young man has already made his decision and tells his father not to blame him while he prepares to leave the cave. The man watches his son leave with a sad but resigned expression, accepting his son's decision. As he is about to exit, the father shouts to stop him and throws something in his direction. The young man catches the object in the air, feeling confused, not realizing what his father threw to him. The object is a small talisman with his name and an unknown symbol inscribed on it. The father reveals that it is the license for the qualification exam of the Xuan Academy. He says that since his son is determined to descend from the mountain, this could be his first stop. The Xuanqing Academy is the best academy for fighters, and all graduates reach the Golden Core stage. The girl asks if it would be more dangerous to go there, but the father explains it is the safest place. Moreover, the academy has many cultivation methods, and it would be the perfect place for his son to find his path. The young man takes the snake meat to cook as he prepares for his new journey. With a large bag on his back, he bids farewell to everyone and shouts that he is heading to the Xuanqing Academy. The girl asks how his father got that rare license despite being imprisoned, but he refuses to answer. The man says he can no longer protect his son and needs to find a way to keep him safe. Sending his son to the academy is the best option he could find to ensure the young man's survival. The father then reveals that there is a secret about his son's body that he needs to share with her. He asks the nine-tailed fox, who is close to being at the emperor level, to protect the young man, no matter the cost. The girl understands the importance of the mission, but she raises a very practical question. With a bored look, she asks who will bring them food. As the two leave, all the men fall into despair over the question and stare at the girl with wide eyes. The father shouts for them to eat quickly because this will be their last good meal for a long time. The fox bids farewell to the old man and prepares to leave, but he calls out to her for a final warning. Disturbed, she asks what he wants and warns him that she will not bring food for anyone there anymore. The man warns her that the world is about to collapse and that time is not on their side. He says that the hidden power within Lincoln must awaken soon because their time is running out. The scene shifts to the entrance of the Xuanqing Academy, a majestic place filled with ambitious young people and spiritual cultivation. The guards are shouting at the candidates, demanding they maintain order and not cut in line under any circumstances. All the youngsters prepare for the test, their cards in hand, waiting eagerly for the exam to begin. The hero carries his heavy belongings, scanning the area, hoping not to attract attention. One of the teachers explains that everyone must insert their cards into the mouth of the stone lion at the entrance. permits. The statue will verify the validity of the permits and if there are any demonic spies among them. The teacher calls the first person in line, urging him to hurry and start the verification process. The young man approaches the lion and carefully inserts his card into the statue's mouth, feeling a bit tense. A blue light sparkles from the statue, indicating that the card is valid and the applicant is exempted. The teacher allows him to enter. Thankful, the young man feels relieved to have passed the first test. Wu Ying becomes very nervous, wondering if the card his father gave him is fake. He tries to calm himself, thinking that as long as he does not practice demonic arts, he shouldn't be exposed. Suddenly, someone cries out in pain nearby, and everyone turns to see what happened in line. A demonic practitioner has been discovered by the statue, which has closed around his hand and won't let go. One of the applicants explains that the lion is made of a special material that does not release a victim when it detects something suspicious. The man begs for his life, claiming he only forged the card and is not from a demonic sect. The teacher calls for the next person and points to the hero, saying, "It's finally his turn." He mentions that the young man with the huge bag looks the most suspicious among them, and asks him to insert his card. Trembling with fear, the young man approaches the stone lion, preparing for a test that could determine his future. Suddenly, the ground starts to shake violently, and the other applicants wonder if it's an earthquake. The statue begins to grip the hero's arm, who feels unbearable pain in the area. However, to everyone's astonishment, the card gets accepted, and the teacher states, "Everything is fine." The young man relaxes and breathes a sigh of relief, celebrating his success in passing the test without being discovered by the statue. But the lion's eyes turn red, and it seems very angry at the young man. The entire statue starts glowing red, and the hero does not understand what is happening. With astonishing force, the statue begins to break and bites his arm harder. Suddenly, the head of the lion flies off and hits another hero's arm, leaving him in a state of shock. Without even trying, the young man ends up smashing the statue to pieces right in front of everyone. The teacher stands helpless in front of the scene while the hero looks at the destruction he caused. He feels embarrassed and bends down to start collecting the pieces, apologizing for the incident. The teacher shouts in anger that he is also from a demonic sect and orders him to be arrested immediately. Surrounded by guards, he asks why he is being detained if his card was approved. The man explains that the lion attacks automatically when it feels any type of demonic energy nearby. The young man panics and thinks that perhaps he has become tainted by his family's aura after living with them for so long. Just as he is about to be taken away, the fox girl appears and shouts for everyone to stop immediately. She says they are careless, and everyone is enchanted by her stunning beauty. The teacher asks why a member of the Beast clan is interfering in the academy's affairs. Ignoring the question, she approaches the young man and protects his arm. She declares that she is Lincoln's guardian and asks why she shouldn't get involved in this. The other applicants are shocked and comment that he has a very important family background. The fox tells the man to look closely at the source of the acceptance card he holds. The teacher looks at the ground and recognizes the card belonging to the first mythical clan in the world. She confirms that it is from the clan that was destroyed 20,000 years ago and that Lincoln is the only living heir. One of the applicants wonders how the strongest clan in the world was destroyed by a demonic sect. Another young man explains that the clan's name literally was the first clan in the world. The fox girl then says it's understandable that the card is tainted with demonic energy. The teacher thinks the boy inherited the legacy by accident, and that he needs to handle the situation very carefully. He allows the duo to go, but warns them not to do anything suspicious, and the hero assures them they will behave well. The fox drags the young man into the academy, and they finally begin their new journey. She tells him not to be so nervous, but the young man is still very anxious about the entire situation. She advises him to act as he normally would, so that no one would suspect his true identity. They enter the academy doors and find themselves in a massive courtyard filled with other students. From the top of the tower, a man watches the new students with a serious and majestic expression. He is Mayani, one of the academy's teachers, and he seems to be evaluating the newcomers who have arrived. Another teacher approaches and asks how the new students are this year. Mani replies that they aren't bad and that there are some outstanding students among them. He points to Ba from the Yujin Peak and T. Shanka from the Huan clan as good examples. The young man approaches Ba from the Huan clan and invites her to team up together. Angrily, the girl tells him to go away and rejects him without even looking at his face. The others comment that she is the genius who reached foundational stage at the age of 11. Ba thinks that her father was right and that none of the newcomers here are worth her attention. Mayani agrees that the quality of the new students isn't bad, but he feels that something is off. Suddenly, he sees the hero tossing huge weights into the air and wonders what is happening. The other teacher laughs, saying that he probably just passed the chi filtration phase. Mayani responds that he is an interesting character and is likely to fail the first test. Then, he jumps from the tower and flies toward the new students to begin the admission test. The applicants are impressed by the teacher's ability to fly as if it were something normal. He introduces himself as the one responsible for evaluating the new students and explains the next step. Only those who pass all tests will be eligible to become disciples of the academy. The hero feels he has seen this teacher before, but he can't remember where. The man shouts at the young man, asking why he is looking at him in such a strange way. Feeling embarrassed, he tries to explain himself, but ends up saying something that catches the teacher's attention. He points to a shiny wire connected to the back of the man and says it looks a bit reflective. Everyone looks up and sees that the teacher is hanging by a wire like a puppet. Suddenly, the wire snaps, and the man falls to the ground in front of all the astonished students. He approaches the young man and says he looks forward to seeing his results in the upcoming test. Then he is pulled back into the air by the wire, becoming very angry about the embarrassing situation. He screams at his assistant not to stop in the wrong place and threatens him with a deadly glare. The girl with white hair wonders how an academic teacher cannot fly properly. Another teacher thinks the young man is in trouble for having insulted such a despicable man. Suddenly, the teacher rips his shirt and shows his muscles to all the students. He says this was just to lighten the mood, and now the first round of the test will begin. The young man wonders if the instructor is crazy and whether he really needs to rip his shirt to start the test. One student recognizes the instructor's aura and muscles and is astonished by the discovery. He reveals that he possesses the legendary Holy Punching Bag body and a very rare ability. This ability absorbs enemy attacks and converts the energy for the user's own use. In other words, he is practically immune to attacks from people of the same level or lower. The hero is terrified by the idea that he must enjoy getting hit to become strong. The instructor explains that each of them will hit him, and he will evaluate their potential. He glares at the young man and says that since the test is under his control, he will make sure he fails. He points to the young man and says he will be the first to participate in the test. The hero steps forward and asks the instructor to prepare because he is very strong. The instructor laughs and says that even a spiritual practitioner cannot hurt him. He continues to mock the young man, saying it's impossible for a weakling like him to hit him. But before he finishes his sentence, the hero lands a devastating punch on him. The hit was so strong that the instructor flew away and destroyed part of the academy with his body. All the other candidates are shocked, staring at the scene with their eyes wide open. The other teacher is also stunned, seeing the destruction caused by the young man's punch. The young man looks through the hole in the wall and sees the chaos he has created. With a pale face and cold sweat dripping from him, he realizes that he has overdone it with his strength and that everything is over for him now. He finds the instructor collapsed among the rubble, completely unconscious and defeated. The man is out cold, foaming at the mouth, which indicates the power of the blow he received. Not caring about the destruction, the hero turns and asks if this means he passed the test. The other students are terrified by the scene and back away from the young man, afraid of his strength. A fox jumps from one roof to another to get closer and observe the chaos up close. With a proud smile, she thinks it was expected that her brother would draw attention from the start. The other candidates wonder how the instructor was defeated if he was supposed to be immune to attacks. The girl with white hair realizes that she is not the only one hiding her true power there. The colorful teacher approaches his fallen colleague and seems impressed by what has happened. He says that the young man's punch was close to the ultimate level at the spirit stage. Suddenly, the fallen man starts to rise up and opens his eyes with renewed rage. He quickly stands up and glares at the hero with eyes filled with anger and determination. He runs towards the young man, grabs him, and starts yelling at him for attacking him. He complains that the young man hit him when he was unprepared, and furthermore, he hit him in the face instead of the stomach. The hefty young man from the Tawny sect realizes that the instructor wasn't ready, and that's why he couldn't withstand the punch. The man says that the previous test doesn't count, and he will throw the young man out if he uses any tricks again. Then he uses his special ability, the fixed holy punching bag. The other young man explains that this is the ultimate defense that converts all power into pure defense. The instructor says he uses this technique in the final tests, and that even if he had all the power in the world, he would not budge. Then the hero punches him again, hard in the middle of the man's chest. The punch sinks into the instructor's chest, yet he doesn't move an inch. The other students are amazed and comment that he didn't move at all. However, the colorful instructor realizes that something is very wrong with the scene and begins to doubt. The colorful teacher reveals that his colleague is actually unconscious while standing from the pain of the punch. To avoid further trouble, he announces that everyone has passed the first round of the exam. The students celebrate their approval while wondering in what world the hero belongs. The young man with white hair approaches and says he didn't expect to find another strong person there. He introduces himself as Zhang from the Huan Sect and says his hobby is dual spirit cultivation. Cautiously, he accepts the hero as his brother and wonders if the young man wants something more. The hefty young man from the Tawny Sect approaches and also asks to be accepted as a younger brother. He offers to provide accurate information in exchange for the protection of the two strong young men. The boy says he collects information but has no data on the mysterious hero. With a friendly smile, he asks which sector the young man belongs to. The hero feels nervous and stutters, saying he is a farmer on his own without any affiliation. Suddenly, the girl with white hair approaches and everyone steps back to let her pass. She says he loves being the center of attention and that she will show him the difference between him and a true genius. After challenging him, she turns and walks away, leaving the young man in complete confusion. A disguised young man observes the scene from a distance with a mysterious look. The colorful instructor shouts, "Don't celebrate too early, the next match is about to begin." He presses a red button on the remote control, and something unexpected happens to everyone. The surface beneath their feet opens up, and they drop into a dark room directly below them. The candidates wonder what is happening and feel the surface shaking violently. They cling to one another to prevent their fall, as the entire room starts to rumble. It turns out that the room is a giant metallic cube floating in the middle of the academy. Inside the cube, mechanical statues with red eyes prepare to attack the candidates. The robots with armor and pointed helmets line up, ready to start the next test. The students are surrounded by giant machines with no place to escape or hide. The colorful teacher introduces himself as Huang Lu Hong and says he will be the examiner for the second round. He reveals that all the doll mechanisms were created by his Jaya Pavilion. During the test, the machines will constantly attack with weapons hidden in their bodies. The test will continue until an incense stick burns out, and the longer they last, the higher their scores will be. He lights an incense stick on the unconscious instructor and says that luck won't help the weak. The hero faces the robots while the instructor explains that all the weapons are real. The robots' eyes light up with blue light and prepare to fire at the students. With a wicked smile, the instructor welcomes them to the candidate graveyard and begins the test. The robots fire beams of light, and the students run helplessly to evade the attacks. The machines shoot lasers from their mouths, causing complete chaos inside the test room. Many candidates are injured and drop out of the exam, while others fight for survival. The instructor watches the scene and comments that the young man from Huan is not too bad. The girl with white hair uses a special technique to protect herself from attacks from behind. She boasts that thanks to her technique, no one can sneak attack her from behind. But suddenly, a beam hits her directly in the chest, leaving her stunned by the frontal attack. The instructor claims he said nothing and looks away, embarrassed by his previous comment. The colorful instructor is astonished to see another promising candidate among the newcomers. The girl with white hair proves to be surprisingly strong, dodging attacks with great agility. She is surprised to see that the hero is in the battlefield without moving. He simply breaks the ground beneath his feet and crouches to avoid being hit by the beams. With a relaxed breath, he thinks that this way, he won't be hit by the robot's blows. The instructor yells in his face that the test is about speed, not hiding like a coward. He threatens to kick him out if he breaks any of his precious robots again. The girl with white hair says she will get the young man out of there and prepares to intervene. But the other instructor grabs the remote control and says she doesn't need to waste her time on the boy. He lights a cigarette and says he will make the young man feel the true power of the dolls. With an evil smile, he presses the button and activates the strongest mode for the combat robots. The machines start to tremble and disintegrate in front of all the frightened candidates. Parts of the robots begin to join together, transforming into a larger machine. A bright light shines during the merging process, and a new giant robot emerges in the arena. The hero is stunned and wonders if this is the transformation he knows. The hefty young man screams that it's a Yanrang fusion, and that the robots are now much stronger. He also reveals that the doll's weapons are coated with a deadly and dangerous poison. The boy says he only noticed the poison because he feels extremely dizzy and close to losing consciousness. The instructor states that this is not a lesson and that they have taken the test too far. The other man asks if he doesn't want this arrogant boy to succeed in the exam, and he agrees. The robots fire shot after shot, and the hero moves quickly to evade them. He dodges the attacks with amazing agility, leaving the other candidates behind. The young man looks back and realizes that the others are being attacked by the hits he avoided. He feels guilty for dragging them into this mess and apologizes for his mistake. The instructor threatens to send more robots after him, but the young man seems to have a plan in mind. He is surrounded by the giant machines and prepares for the final attack from the robot. With an aura of energy around him, he faces the machines with determination and courage. The instructors warn him that if he harms any more robots, he will be immediately disqualified. The others realize that all the robots are focused on him and feel relieved. The girl with white hair thinks he is in trouble and says that her father was right about him. The story's hero stands still in the midst of the robots, seeming to focus on some upcoming attack. He tells himself that this is the only way to solve the situation and prepares to move. With a powerful leap, he soars into the air and flies toward the giant robot. He delivers a devastating blow to the robot's head and completely destroys it with his strength. The instructors are shocked and wonder how he managed to fly like that. The other candidates are also confused, questioning which world he is currently in. The hefty young man explains that he is not using a spiritual aura to fly, but something else. He is just using the power of his legs to jump and stay in the air for a while. Everyone is amazed by the young man's physical strength and cannot believe what they see. The instructor asserts that regardless of his strength, there is a limit, and he won't stay in the air for long. The robots are ordered to attack the place where the young man will land to surprise him. The hero feels danger and wonders what to do since he can't destroy the robots. Then an idea strikes him, and he uses one of the robots as a foothold to launch himself elsewhere. With a quick move, he steps on the spears and changes direction in the air to dodge the attack. He lands in front of the girl with white hair, who stares at him with a surprised expression. Kneeling in front of her, the young man smiles and asks what she will do now that they are together. She blushes and wonders if he is the type of pervert her father warned her about. Suddenly, he hides behind her and uses her as a human shield against the robot's attacks. The girl's swords block the beams, and she shouts at him for using her as a shield. The young man apologizes and says it's the only way he could think of to stay alive. Angrily, she attacks him with her sword, but he manages to dodge the strike with a swift movement. She says she will finish him off first and glares at him with pure anger and determination. Suddenly, the hero yells for her to stop and points to the flames approaching them. The other students watch the scene and comment that the hero isn't going to stop dodging the attacks. The coach laughs and says now there's nowhere for him to run with all these attacks coming from every direction. The two coaches watch the scene from afar, waiting to see how the young man will get out of this. Suddenly, the incense stick that was in the coach's mouth falls, and an idea lights up in someone's mind. The colorful coach has a plan and looks at the hero with a cunning gaze. The girl with white hair wonders if he has given up, but the young man seems to have another idea in his mind. He starts breathing deeply and gathers a large amount of energy in his body. The coaches wonder what he is doing as he takes deep breaths at a moment that seems like he is finished. Suddenly, he blows with all his strength and creates a powerful windstorm that hits everyone in the room. The other students are swept away by the wind and struggle not to be blown away. The coach thinks it's just a trick and that he won't be able to do anything against them. The storm blows into the coach's hair, leaving it in a terrible state. He approaches the young man and asks if he can interrupt him for a moment to say something. The young man points to the incense stick and says, "The test incense seems to have gone out." The colorful coach realizes the blow, hastens the incense is burning and feels shocked. The plump young man says the hero has a deeper goal behind his mysterious actions. He says that the young man is trying to get benefits for all the other candidates in the room. The girl with white hair feels embarrassed and angry at the awkward situation caused by this and screams that this is not the end before disappearing. Embarrassed by the scene she witnessed, the hero wonders what he did wrong for her to react this way. The other students are hurt, but grateful for the young man's help during that tough test. The colorful coach smiles and says it has been years since he met such an interesting trainee. Suddenly, the academy dean appears and says that this year's assessment is very vital. The students are shocked by the presence of the academy dean and cannot believe what they see. They marvel at how he doesn't seem very trustworthy and that his wig is about to fall off his head. The plump young man reveals that he is the famous Shuri Red, a man feared by many. The other students are confused and do not understand the story behind the dean. They wonder why his red hair is fake if he is such a legendary and frightening figure. The dean approaches the hero and asks him his name to know who the gifted young man is. From a distance, the girl fox watches the scene with worry and apprehension for the young man. She wonders why the dean suddenly appeared and how she will fix the situation now. She uses telepathy to talk to the young man, and he hears her voice in his mind, completely confused. She warns him that he dropped the dean's wig, and he needs to return it as soon as possible. The coach approaches the dean and tries to calm the situation, asking him to be magnanimous. He says that if the coach is as strong as the dean, there won't be a problem with the young man. The hero runs towards the dean at an amazing speed and grabs the wig mid-air. He returns it to the dean's head, shocking the man with the young man's speed. The dean finds it hard to believe what has happened and thinks he wouldn't have noticed it if it weren't for his sharp eyes. The young man smiles and says he picked up what he dropped and that there's no need to thank him. The coach seems shocked to see that the hero has returned the wig. The dean finishes with a flag stuck in his head and appears to be seriously injured. The girl fox screams desperately for him to understand the difference between a wig and hidden weapons. The coach grabs the young man and accuses him of attacking the dean, but he says he must have made a mistake. The dean says simple things like that can't hurt him, but he seems to be in a lot of pain. The coach points out that blood is dripping, but the dean says it's part of the test. The hero praises the dean for not being affected, but the girl fox knows he is just pretending. The dean tries to pull the weapon from his head, but ends up causing more serious injuries to himself. Blood gushes everywhere, and the hero is shocked by the strange scene. He then loses consciousness and falls face first to the ground in front of all the students, who feel fear at the sight. The coach runs to assist the dean and carries him in his arms, desperate for the situation. The students comment that he appears to be an old man who only knows how to talk a lot, but has no real power. The colorful coach announces that everyone has passed the second round, and that the next test will be tomorrow. He orders that the dean be taken to the pharmacy room for urgent treatment. The students wonder if they have really passed the assessment, feeling like something is wrong. One of them says it feels like they forgot something important, but they don't remember what it is. Suddenly, the robots start attacking again, and one of the students screams for the teacher Hong to stop them. The teacher, who had been insulted, watches from afar with an evil smile and a plan in his mind. He thinks he didn't expect the young man to give up so easily and prepares to take action. The other students complain that they almost perished during the test and wonder how they survived. The scene shifts to the students' dorm where everyone is preparing for the next day. The girl with the foxtail finds the story's hero training and asks him why he isn't resting. He says he needs to enhance his skills to succeed in tomorrow's assessment. She agrees that the upcoming assessment is crucial because only those in the best class will get more resources. However, she reminds him that balancing work and rest is also important for him. She offers to use oil to massage his muscles, but he becomes suspicious. The girl thinks Lingen is the most ambitious among them all, but he seems uncomfortable with her. He advises her to be careful, and she takes the opportunity to hug him tightly and gets closer. With a triumphant smile, she thinks her plan has finally worked, and she has got what she wants. Outside, the girl with white hair prepares to go to bed, but she hears something strange. She feels anger towards the story's hero, and promises that he will pay for what he did to her. She hears noise coming from the young man's room and approaches to check what is happening. Out of curiosity, she wonders about the source of the sound and moves closer to the window to spy. She looks through the window and is shocked when she sees the shadows of the hero and the girl with the foxtail in an embarrassing position and feels frightened. Inside the room, the young man jumps rope with a heavy metal chain and says he forgot it. The girl says she emptied the wine to treat the external injuries and gets ready to clean up the mess. She holds a cloth and bends down to wipe the spilled liquid from the room's floor. Suddenly, she steps on the liquid and slips, falling to the ground in an unintentional and funny manner. Outside, the girl with white hair thinks she must save the other girl from the situation. She sees the shadow of the fox girl approaching the window and thinks it's too late to save her. She covers her eyes with her hands and blushes in embarrassment from the scene she imagines happening in there. The hero asks if she is okay, and she replies that she just fell to the ground by accident. She says her clothes got stained and stands up, revealing the damage the wine has caused. The hero blushes at the scene and turns away so he doesn't look at her in that situation. He offers to look for clean clothes, and she thanks him for his concern. Suddenly, the door to the room is kicked open with a strong foot. and someone stormingly enters. The girl with white hair bursts into the room and accuses him of being a killer demon, demanding that he surrender. She sees the scene of the young man bare-chested and the girl in torn clothes and feels completely shocked. She accuses him of defiling the girl's body. The hero feels confused by the accusation of being a killer demon and understands what is happening. He panics and thinks she discovered his true identity as a cult member. She says he doesn't need to say another word and prepares to attack the young man with her weapon. The girl uses her Lingyu sword technique and creates an aura of energy around herself. She launches an attack with 10,000 swords towards the hero with all her might. The young man says he has no choice and will have to anger her to defend himself against the attack. He moves with amazing speed and easily dodges all the attacks. The girl feels shocked by his speed and can't believe what she sees. She says this is not all she has and prepares to use a more powerful technique. With a battle cry, she unleashes a sword strike that pierces the sky towards him. Her eyes shimmer with blue light as she focuses all her energy on the attack. A wave of energy rushes towards the young man as he prepares to receive it directly. He strikes the wave with force and gathers power in his arm, completely destroying it. The girl feels terror when she sees he broke the protective barrier of her sword's coil with his body. Suddenly, she feels something behind her and turns to see what is happening there. The hero appears behind her and delivers a strike that wipes her recent memory. She collapses to the ground, unconscious, while the young man looks at her, unsure of what to do in this situation. He apologizes and says he can't reveal his identity, so he had to do that. The technique he used pumps power into the palm and directs it to the enemy's brain. This results in altering the target's memory, leaving them completely disoriented and without recent memories. The fox girl warns him and tells him to take her to her room before someone finds them and they get into trouble. The young man carries the girl on his shoulders and takes her to her dorm as quickly as he can. He runs across the academy rooftops under the moonlight so that no one sees him there. He places her near what he thinks is her room and prepares to leave. Suddenly, she starts to wake up, and he panics, unsure of what to do with her. He hits her with another memory wipe, but she keeps waking up, making him anxious. He thinks he almost got exposed and feels relieved. He managed to erase her memory, but then he realizes there's a bigger problem and gives into the situation he found himself in. He has no idea where the girl's dorm is and does not know how to return her to her room. From a distance, the plump young man watches the scene and wonders about the relationship between the two. He opens the door to an empty room and places her on the bed to rest. He notices that the room is unoccupied and assumes she might be staying there. The girl begins to wake up and wonders what is happening and where she is now. The hero strikes her with another memory wipe, making her lose consciousness again. He apologizes once more and says he cannot let her discover his identity. The girl with white hair wakes up and doesn't remember anything that happened the night before. He feels anxious because he has never used the technique 3 times in a row on the same person before. He thinks it's better to feel guilty than to be discovered and suffer from his family's heritage. He is surprised by the mess in the girl's room, not expecting this from a girl. Suddenly, he notices something on the floor and becomes alert to what he found there. He sees his wet footprints on the floor and feels panic at the trace he left. He grabs a mop and begins to desperately clean the floor to leave no traces. He realizes he left prints all around the room and decides to clean everything up before leaving. In a glade in the forest, a young man with his head covered sits quietly, drinking tea under the moonlight. He senses someone's presence and asks the person not to hide and to come out immediately. The teacher he wronged appears and praises the talented young man for being easy to find. The covered young man remarks that nothing escapes his eyes and questions why the person was hiding. The man turns and asks for help in dealing with a new student who has been bothering him. The young man asks why he should help him, and the teacher offers his support in the next election. He promises to support the young man to become the next head of the family if he assists him. The covered young man agrees to the deal and inquires about the identity of the student he will face. The teacher reveals that it's the arrogant boy Wing, and the young man smirks wickedly. He states that he will rig the draw, and that the talented young man just needs to unintentionally bring him out. The young man agrees to the plan and asks the teacher not to forget his promise. The teacher calls the boy again and asks what else he needs. The man expresses that he requires help with something else and reveals an unexpected situation. His leg is trapped by a green water dragon, and he cannot free himself alone. He begs the young man to save him and questions how someone like him became a teacher. With no other choice, he decides to intervene and prepares to attack the dragon with his sword. He cuts off the dragon's tail and liberates the teacher from the creature that was holding him. With a strong blow, the dragon is completely destroyed, saving the man from danger. He says, "It's over," and the teacher falls from the sky toward him with a look of relief. The young man opens his arms to welcome him, and the man thanks him for his strength and bravery. He asks the teacher to let him go, but the man seems to be enjoying the moment. The young man throws him into the water and walks away, leaving the teacher alone and wet in the lake. Elsewhere, the masked young man encounters a spirit and states that it has finally appeared. The spirit warns the young man that the hero is not as he thinks and is very powerful. It says that the strength the young man has shown is something he will find difficult to achieve. The young man retorts that there is no one in the world who can defeat him, and the spirit seems skeptical of his confidence. It reveals that it travels through time and therefore knows things that others do not. It states that it was an ordinary student in another world before being reincarnated in this place. He was transported to this world after being hit by a truck in an accident. He became a prominent young man from the Xiao family and began his journey. He stumbles and falls face down into an examiner and discovers a mysterious ring within. The ring contained the spirit of Master Dan, who helped him become stronger and more powerful. He believes that with his own heroic archetype, no one can stop him on his path. He states that the hero's fate is to be defeated at his hands, even if there is no conflict between them. Meanwhile, the distinguished young man sneezes for no apparent reason and wonders why that is. He doesn't think much of it and decides to leave, since the room is clean and tidy. He exits the room and carefully locks the door so as not to wake the sleeping girl. He bids her farewell and walks away, leaving her alone in the room to rest peacefully. The masked young man returns to his room and finds the door open, causing him to doubt. He enters the room and realizes that someone had been there while he was away, wondering what it could be. He approaches the bed and is shocked to find the white-haired girl sleeping there. He cannot believe what he sees and wonders how she entered his room. He blushes from the unexpected situation and does not know how to react. He observes her sleeping and realizes that she is the dream princess of a younger generation. He remembers that this is not the time to fall in love and tries to focus on the current situation. He approaches the cabinet and grabs a dose to help the girl recover. He thinks that this is the girl who cleans his room and sleeps on his bed, which can only mean one thing. With a confident look, he concludes that she must be in love with him and feels excitement. He recalls reading comic stories in his previous life and how the heroines always fall in love. He wonders if the white-haired girl is the heroine of his destiny and steps closer to her. He realizes she has not yet woken up and questions why she is taking so long. The spirit explains that her consciousness was damaged, which is why she cannot wake up. The young man concludes that she must have expended too much energy while cleaning his room, which is why she fainted. He says he learned first aid in his previous life and will help her recover. He kneels beside her and prepares to perform mouth-to-mouth resuscitation to wake her. The girl begins to stir and asks what is happening and where she is. He leans in to kiss her, but she wakes up and sees him hovering over her with a strange expression. Suddenly, the hero hears an explosion and turns to see what is happening. The girl pushes him away and screams at him not to let her see him again. He wonders why she attacked him if she clearly shows feelings for him. He concludes that the women of that world are naturally reserved and that he was too quick. The spirit asks why he is so sure that she loves him and not just that she entered the wrong room. With a confident smile, he declares that it's because he was born to be a successful hero. Outside, the girl wonders how she ended up in another person's bed and feels confused. She vaguely remembers encountering the hero, but the details are unclear. Suddenly, she remembers everything and realizes he is from a dangerous demonic sect. She accuses him of using bodies for cultivation and is stunned by her discovery. She thinks she did not expect to stumble upon such a big secret and realizes the danger she faces. With a determined smile, she vows to find evidence proving that he is from a demonic sect. She screams his name into the night and vows that she will take revenge for what he did to her. The other students hear the screams and wonder what happened between the two. The next day, everyone gathers in the performance theater for the next test. They complain about the delay and wonder why no coach has appeared yet. The hero trains with giant weights and says he needs more training. The fox girl reassures him, stating that with his strength, he will surely secure a spot in the higher tier. The white-haired girl looks at him angrily and calls him a braggart for showing off like that. The other students wonder why she seems excited to see him and what happened. The chubby boy smiles and says that no one there knows the full story between the two, and that their relationship is deeper than they think, getting ready to spill everything. But just before he can speak, the covered young man threatens him with a sword against his neck. He tells him not to tarnish the girl's reputation, and the chubby boy agrees. Terrified by the threat, the young man throws him to the ground and walks away, leaving the chubby boy scared and confused. The others wonder why he got so angry and deduce that he must be fond of her. The young man thinks that the girl is the heroine of his destiny, and that she would not get involved with an ordinary person. Suddenly, one of the trainers shouts for everyone to be quiet and pay attention. The students turn to see 3 trainers standing on stage, ready to begin the test. They announce that the 3rd evaluation is about to start, and all the students pay attention. The trainer explains that in this round, they will be tested in real combat without restrictions. The school dean, wearing a new wig, observes everything closely for personal evaluation of the process. The hero notices the dean's new wig, and the fox girl tells him to be quiet to avoid trouble. The colorful trainer presses a button, and a strange machine appears in the middle of the stage. He explains that everyone must draw combat numbers to determine fighting pairs. The students line up one by one to put their hands inside the machine to get a number. The hero steps forward, preparing to grab his number and find out who his opponent is. He puts his hand in the machine and feels something strange happening to the paper he picked. The trainer he dislikes signals the start, and a sharp blade shoots out from the machine. The blade cuts the paper in his hand, and he realizes that something is very wrong with the draw. He looks at the paper and sees that the number is completely torn and unreadable. He turns and sees the trainer laughing with an evil look and realizes he has been sabotaged. Suddenly, he feels something odd and turns to the machine to see what is happening. He looks at the paper in his hand and sees the number 38, confused by what it means. The trainer continues to laugh and seems pleased with the outcome of his evil plan. The scene shifts to the fighting arena as the hero prepares to face his opponent. The trainer boasts about orchestrating the hero's draw, claiming he didn't become a trainer for nothing, and that his plan will succeed perfectly. The covered young man states that he is not in the same group as the hero, and the trainer laughs. He explains that this young man possesses some strength, but he didn't intentionally place him in the same group. He wanted someone to test the hero's abilities before confronting him personally. The hero sees a shadow of his opponent and wonders who his opponent in battle will be. He approaches to find a massive muscular man standing before him with a look of disdain. The man calls the hero weak and says he should surrender before the fight begins. The chubby boy recognizes the man and is shocked to see who his friend's first opponent is. He reveals that the man is Wang Tigu, a famous and fearsome fighter from the martial arts world. The man states that he has followed the hero's previous evaluations and is not impressed at all. He calls him trash with little natural strength and disdainfully criticizes his lack of skill. He boasts that he is at the peak of his refinement and threatens to knock him out with one blow. The fox girl feels anger at the provocation and prepares to intervene in the fight. The man challenges her, asking if she wants to fight him instead of the young man. The other students are excited to see the fight and wonder if the hero will succeed. Suddenly, a wave of energy emanates from the hero, pushing everyone away from him. The girl wonders in her heart why he is being so polite to his opponent, but he says what the man said is true. The man insists he knows the difference between them. He should kneel and beg. The hero prepares to respond, facing the man with a serious and stern look, and declares that despite his weakness, he has reasons to continue fighting. He refuses to surrender. The man glares at him with red eyes full of rage and prepares for the upcoming fight. He tells the young man to get ready to be defeated in the arena and begins to leave. The fox girl praises the hero for his courage, and he feels embarrassed by her compliment. The killer meets with the teacher and the young man in robes to discuss the plan. He says that if he helps him out, he needs to be placed in the first tier, and the teacher assures him that he will. He promises to make the boy understand how strong he is, and that he will defeat him. The teacher hopes the hero does not get eliminated in the first round and laughs wickedly. He announces that the drawing has concluded and calls the first new student to the combat arena. The white-haired girl is the first to be summoned, and everyone is excited to see her fight. Her opponent is the white-haired young man, who again invites her to cultivate together. The other students are angry at his audacity and shout for him to be thrown off the stage. They throw food at him, but he dodges them, and the attacks hit the teacher. The man complains that he avoided the strikes, but the attacks hit him, and he is furious at the situation. The young man in robes watches the scene and promises to remember the boy's name because of his interest in the girl. The teacher wonders how they became so close so quickly, and the young man says it is the hero's aura. The Academy Dean asks them to cut the performance and announces the start of the first match of the tournament. The students prepare for the fight, the teacher covered in food and dirt. The white-haired girl gets ready to fight with all her strength and faces her opponent. The white-haired young man boasts about his strength and prepares for the upcoming duel. He faces the girl and tells her this is exactly what he wanted to happen. He says she does not understand the power of the Hyun sect and reveals his true abilities. He gets ready to use a special technique, the Ghost Iron Mountain Fall. With a swift motion, he creates shadow clones to confuse the girl in the arena. The chubby boy is astonished and remarks that he is using quick moves to create the clones. He says that if she cannot figure out which one is his real body, she will never defeat him. The girl faces him with a serious expression and prepares for the upcoming attack. She notices that all the clones spread their legs oddly and gets an idea. She strikes him in a very sensitive spot, causing him to cry out in pain and reveal his true body. He calls her a slut for hitting him there as she glares at him with disdain. He says he has already harassed others in the past and thus was prepared for that blow. Shocked by his audacity, she wonders how he can be proud of that. She prepares to attack again, and he says that since she didn't accept his good intentions, he won't be merciful and will use all his power to defeat her in the arena. He launches an energy ball at her and gets ready for the final attack. He runs around her, creating more shadow copies to confuse her again. The hero wonders why he doesn't just throw a chi ball at her directly. The chubby young man explains that the higher the practitioner's level, the further their chi ability can reach. He realizes that both his father and the fox girl are very strong and is shocked by this discovery. The shadow copies shoot energy balls at her from all sides. She catches the energy balls and asks him if that's all he has to show. He says the show must stop and prepares for the next attack with more seriousness. She warns him not to underestimate her and gets ready for what's coming in the fight. He attacks her from behind, but she spins and avoids the strike with a swift and agile move. He boasts about his ability to control the chi ball and says she has no chance of winning. He launches the ball at her, but she catches it with her hands effortlessly. Surprised by how easy it was to catch his attack, she glares at him with disdain. He fires more balls as she gracefully dodges all of them in the battlefield. He jumps in the air and prepares for an aerial attack, but she is ready to face him. She strikes him with a powerful kick, sending him flying with the force of the blow. The instructors are amazed by her ability to control spiritual energy. The chubby young man explains that it is a secret technique of the Huan sect that controls energy. The girl with white hair prepares for the next attack and confronts him with determination. She is angry because she had to use her sword against such a scoundrel. She unleashes a strong attack towards him, ready to finish the fight. He protects himself with an energy barrier, but she cuts through the barrier with her sharp sword. His pants rip in the middle of the fight, and he feels embarrassed by the awkward situation. He is stunned that she managed to break his energy ball so easily. The scene shifts to the hero, who watches the fight with interest and curiosity. It seems he is analyzing the techniques of the two fighters to learn from them. The young man falls to the ground defeated, and the girl with white hair wins the first fight of the tournament. The hero is shocked by her ability to control energy and wonders how she did it. The instructor announces that the girl has won the match, and the audience celebrates her victory. She glares at the defeated young man with a look of contempt and turns her back to leave the arena. The hero wonders if this is what a fight between practitioners looks like. Suddenly, a girl gets hit by a giant chicken leg and falls to the ground. The hero turns around and sees a girl with pink hair expressing admiration. She says that the girl with white hair is the #1 among the younger practitioners. The girl with white hair hears the compliments and wishes to be as strong as her one day. The hero admires the pink-haired girl's size, and the fox girl appears jealous. She turns and strikes the fox across the face with her chest, leaving the fox girl stunned. The fox girl realizes the hero likes that and gets a strange expression on her face. The girl with pink hair looks at the chicken leg and seems very hungry. She asks if the hero wants to eat, drooling over the food. He says he has been training a lot since yesterday and is really hungry after all that effort. The fox girl wonders what she should do and can't believe a stranger understands him better. The hero starts eating the chicken leg, and the fox girl is amazed by the sight. The instructor orders that the defeated young man be taken away to prepare for the next match in the tournament. The hero eats and asks for the name of the pink-haired girl who helped him. She introduces herself as Mereng Chan, a student who entered the academy last year. The fox girl asks if she is here to compete with the new students, and the girl denies it. She explains that she failed and is taking the entrance exam again. The hero says she doesn't seem nervous, and she replies that if she fails, she will be expelled. The chubby young man reveals that the girl comes from a famous family of renowned alchemists. Her family members are known everywhere and are highly respected. She developed a technique that combines chemistry and cooking to produce powerful food. The hero is shocked to learn that the meat he ate was actually a spirit being. He feels embarrassed for eating her flesh, but she says it's not a problem. She says she can't see someone hungry and smiles warmly at him. The young man is fascinated by her kindness, while the fox girl shows jealousy at the scene. He calls her an angel, and the fox girl yells that it's not a big deal and he's exaggerating. Suddenly, the girl with white hair approaches, and everyone makes way for her to pass. The pink-haired girl walks up to her and asks for an autograph with sparkling eyes. She looks at her with an expression of admiration and respect for her strength and skill. The girl with white hair refuses her request and warns her to be cautious when making friends. The hero and the fox girl watch the scene and don't understand the girl's attitude. She approaches the hero and threatens him, saying she will find out what he did. The other students wonder what happened and whether what the chubby boy said was true. The instructor announces the next match and calls the hero to the combat arena. The girl with white hair glares at him with a challenging look and prepares to fight. She asks him if he is close to the other girl, and he says he only knows her. She begs him to introduce her to the other girl because she wants to be as strong as the girl with white hair. Suddenly, the instructor calls the pink-haired girl to the arena, and she is shocked by the call. She apologizes for not hearing and gets ready to fight in the entrance tournament. She asks him not to forget to talk to the other girl, and the young man agrees to try. The fox girl says the girl is strange, and he should avoid getting involved with her. He says she seems like a good person and that anyone who cares a lot about others can't be bad. The instructor warns her that this is her last chance to succeed, and she says she knows. She takes a deep breath and prepares for the fight that will determine her future in the academy. She deeply regrets the thought of going back to where she came from, and focuses on the fight. The coach calls number 36 to step up to the stage, and the hooded young man approaches. He stares at the pink-haired girl with a wicked smile and prepares for the fight. She stares back at him with a surprised expression, not understanding what is happening. He takes off his hood, revealing his identity, which shocks the girl, who is surprised to see him there. He says he came to participate and readies himself for the fight with a confident look.